It's Super Bowl week, so I've taken it upon myself to make a video grading the first 55 Super Bowls. What does this mean? It's simple. The more entertaining and memorable the game was, the higher the grade and vice versa. Enjoy. Super Bowl 1. The inaugural Super Bowl was a quintessential tease, just like my ex-wife. The first half was tightly contested, but in the end, the Packers pulled away to win by 25 points to make this a pretty forgettable game. Grade D. Super Bowl 2. Much like Super Bowl 1, the Packers were in control the entire time, and the game was over by the end of the third quarter. A really great game for Packers fans, but nobody else. Grade D-. Super Bowl 3. Super Bowl 3 was the first non-blowout Super Bowl, as the heavy underdog Jets, led by famous premarital sex haver Joe Namath, upset the heavily favored Colts. The game was vital for eventually getting the NFL and AFL to merge, but as for the actual gameplay, it was low scoring, pretty boring, and turnover filled. Grade C. Super Bowl 4. Like with Super Bowl 3, Super Bowl 4 played a big role in getting the two leagues to finally merge, but once again, as for the actual gameplay and entertainment, there was just not a lot of memorable stuff here. KC won by 16 points with an effective but unsexy mix of defense and ground game. Grade D. Super Bowl 5. Super Bowl 5 is arguably the worst played game in Super Bowl history by both teams, who combined for 11 turnovers. This game also has the honor of being the only time a player on the losing team won Super Bowl MVP. The saving grace is that it was a close game and came down to the final play, but still, lots of yuck here. Grade D+. Super Bowl 6. This was only a one-score game at halftime before Dallas pulled away with 2 second-half touchdowns to win by 21 points. Miami could muster up just 3 points, not very enticing to the average viewer. Grade D. Super Bowl 7. This game is famous for the 72 Dolphins completing their perfect season and for Garo Yepremian's infamous blunder that resulted in a Washington touchdown. But overall, this was another low-scoring game that really didn't provide much in terms of entertainment outside of one play. Grade D+. Super Bowl 8. Miami jumped out to a commanding 24-point lead after 3 quarters before holding on to win by 17. They attempted 7 passes. Not a lot of memorableness here. Grade D. Super Bowl 9. There were just 22 points scored overall and just 14 points offensively. If you love defensive battles, then you might get a boner watching this, and it was a 3-point game in the fourth quarter, but filled with bad offense and 7 turnovers. Grade C. Super Bowl 10. Memorable for some Lynn Swann catches and a really good fourth quarter that saw Dallas blow a lead in comical fashion before almost getting it back at the very end as time ran out. A really good game on rewatch and also important in determining Pittsburgh over Dallas as the dynasty of the 1970s. Grade B+. Super Bowl 11. Oakland pretty much just kicked Minnesota's ass all game, and it was never really close. The most memorable moment is a Willie Brown pick 6 in the fourth quarter when the game was already sealed. All in all, a pretty forgettable Super Bowl. Grade D. Super Bowl 12. A pretty sloppy game that saw 10 turnovers, including 8 from Denver. Dallas was in control pretty much the entire time, and outside of a few shot plays by Dallas, there's not much to take away from this one. Grade D. Super Bowl 13. The first real high-scoring Super Bowl, especially for the time period. Famous for Jackie Smith's infamous drop in the end zone for Dallas. There was a lot of entertainment value in this one, and much like Super Bowl 10 a few years prior, played a huge role in swinging the dynasty of the 1970s to Pittsburgh over Dallas. Grade A-. Super Bowl 14. A lot closer than the final score would suggest, as Pittsburgh trailed by 2 entering the fourth before they woke up to score 2 touchdowns and win 31-19. A solid Super Bowl with a few memorable throws, but not in the upper tier. Grade C+. Super Bowl 15. Much like their Super Bowl win over Minnesota a few years prior, Oakland took control early and was in command the entire time. Not a lot of replay value in this one unless you're a Raiders fan. Yes, I'm a butthurt Eagles fan. Grade D. Super Bowl 16. San Francisco jumped out to a monster 20-point halftime lead before Cincinnati roared back to make it a game in the fourth quarter. There are several key moments in this game that have been lost to history, but overall it was a relatively entertaining game. Grade B-. Super Bowl 17. A sneaky close game, as Miami had a 4-point fourth quarter lead before John Riggins' famous touchdown run. There were a few big plays like a 76-yard touchdown catch and a kickoff return touchdown, but overall this 10-point Washington win falls somewhere around average in the pantheon of Super Bowls. Grade C+. Super Bowl 18. There's not much to say about this game. The Raiders beat the shit out of Washington and it was never close. The biggest plays were an interception return, pick 6 just before halftime, and Marcus Allen's famous touchdown run when the game was already decided. Pretty bland. Grade D. Super Bowl 19. This game might be most famous for being Dan Marino's only Super Bowl appearance, but as for the actual gameplay, San Fran was surgical offensively on their way to a relatively easy 22-point win, which at least means the game wasn't boring, but it lacked any real consequence. Grade D. Super Bowl 20. Arguably the most infamous blowout in NFL history, as the Bears steamrolled New England by 36 points and capped it off with a touchdown run by the Fridge. This wasn't much of a game, but it has stood the test of time due to the sheer physical dominance by Chicago. Grade C+. Super Bowl 21. The final score won't show it, but Denver was on the verge of actually taking control of this game in the first half, but they squandered it. The wheels fell off in the second half as New York would romp to a 19-point win. Not an awful game, but certainly not legendary. Grade C-. Super Bowl 22. I don't know if any game has turned as quickly as this one did for Denver after they took a 10-0 lead early. Washington then ripped off 35 points in the second quarter to end the game on their way to a 32-point win. It was fun for about a half, but blowouts don't rate very highly. Grade D-. Super Bowl 23. Holy fucking actual close Super Bowl in the 80s. Wow. This is the game where Joe Montana cemented a large part of his legend with his magical fourth quarter and game-winning touchdown pass to John Taylor. This game could get a little bogged down at times, but overall it was a great Super Bowl with great rewatch value. Grade A. Super Bowl 24. You know how I just said Super Bowl 23 had great rewatch value? Yeah, well, you really can't say the same about this one. It remains the largest blowout in Super Bowl history, 45 fucking points. San Fran just ran a train all over Denver. Similar to Chicago in Super Bowl 20 though, San Fran reached such a level of dominance you can't help but respect it. Grade F. Super Bowl 25. On paper, it's one of the best Super Bowls ever. It had the best national anthem of all time. It literally went down to the final play, which might be the most famous play in Super Bowl history in wide right. But in terms of entertainment value, it was kind of boring. It was still an objectively great Super Bowl though. Grade A. Super Bowl 26. A pretty one-sided affair that wasn't as close as the final score suggested. Washington had a 27-point fourth quarter lead before Jim Kelly did some serious stat padding. Honestly, the most memorable moment from this game might have been Thurman Thomas losing his helmet to start the game. Grade D. Super Bowl 27. A 35-point blowout win by Dallas that would have been even larger if not for Leon Lett's famous blunder. Buffalo had an insane 9 turnovers, which shouldn't even be possible. There's a lot to unpack from this one, but it's certainly not a classic. Grade D-. Super Bowl 28. The only Super Bowl rematch in NFL history, the game was much more contested than the final score, a 17-point Dallas win. Buffalo had a halftime lead and multiple chances in the second half to make it a game before Dallas pulled away. Still, not a lot of memorable moments otherwise from this one. Grade C-. Super Bowl 29. If you like great offensive football, then San Francisco's performance in this game is about as good as you can get, but they beat the shit out of San Diego so badly that it ruined any chance of this game being a classic. The real Super Bowl in these days was the NFC Championship game. Grade D+. Super Bowl 30. This was a solid, if not exactly classic Super Bowl that was tightly contested into the fourth quarter with Pittsburgh having the ball down 3 before Neil O'Donnell threw a terrible interception. In fact, O'Donnell threw several terrible interceptions in this game that prevent this one from ranking higher. Grade C+. Super Bowl 31. Brett Favre's only Super Bowl win was exciting but lacked any real suspense besides a brief moment in the third when New England cut the lead to 6 before Desmond Howard housed a kickoff return for a touchdown. There were no points scored in the fourth while Green Bay won by 14. A good game, but not great. Grade C+. Super Bowl 32. A game that will always be remembered for John Elway finally breaking through to win a ring. It also happened to be a great game, tightly contested throughout with the entire fourth quarter being within one score. Green Bay had multiple drives with a chance to take the lead but failed, while Super Bowl MVP Terrell Davis put Denver up for good. It went down to the wire, which is all you can really ask for. Grade A. Super Bowl 33. Elway's first Super Bowl win was a classic, but his second was pretty forgettable. Denver was largely in control the entire time, and the game wasn't even as close as the final score would suggest. Grade D. Super Bowl 34. An undeniable Super Bowl classic that literally came down to the final yard to decide the winner. St. Louis had a 16-point lead at one point before Tennessee fought back to tie the game in the fourth quarter. St. Louis then scored on a touchdown bomb with a few minutes left to retake the lead before Tennessee's famous final drive fell just 1 yard short at the buzzer. Grade A. Super Bowl 35. This was a complete shit show filled with a bunch of punts and turnovers and was never really close at any point, but it did establish the 2000 Ravens as a legendary defense, led by class act Ray Lewis. Hooray. Grade F. Super Bowl 36. The dawn of the evil empire in New England taking down the heavily favored greatest show on turf Rams. This was a pretty boring game for 3 quarters before St. Louis finally woke up in the fourth to tie the game late before Tom Brady dink and dunked his way downfield to set up Vinatieri for the game-winning field goal. Grade B. Super Bowl 37. A sloppy turnover-filled blowout that really lacked any suspense. offense. Much like Super Bowl 35 a few years earlier, it helped establish a defense, in this case the 2002 Bucs, as legendary, as they had 3 pick sixes off of Rich Gannon. Lots of points prevents this from being an F. Grade D-. Super Bowl 38. A pretty underrated Super Bowl, although it was also pretty Jekyll and Hyde. There were no points scored in either the first or third quarters, but the second and fourth quarters made up for it, as Carolina and New England went back and forth. It looked like the game could go into overtime before double agent John Casey's kick out of bounds set up Tom Brady with a short field and ended in another Vinatieri game-winning field goal. Grade A-. Super Bowl 39. Another somewhat overlooked Super Bowl that got off to a slow start before picking up in the second and third quarters. This was a tied game heading into the fourth before New England assumed command to take a 10-point lead before a late Philadelphia touchdown. It lacked the final play dramatics of New England's first 2 Super Bowl wins, but it was still an objectively solid game, even if my favorite team was the loser. Grade B+. Super Bowl 40. Legendary women respecter Ben Roethlisberger's first Super Bowl win was a close game, but also a pretty boring game. It looked like it could potentially be going down to the wire as Seattle was down just 4 and driving the ball early in the fourth, but some questionable calls tainted the outcome. At least there was a cool trick play touchdown pass by Pittsburgh to seal the game. Grade C+. Super Bowl 41. Peyton Manning's first ring also happened to be the worst weather Super Bowl ever, played in a monsoon and unsurprisingly filled with sloppy play by both teams. There was a cool kickoff return touchdown by Devin Hester to start the game, and even though Chicago had the ball down 1 score to start the fourth, it ended with the Rex Grossman pick 6. Pretty forgettable. Grade D. Super Bowl 42. No Super Bowl has ever had more stakes than this one, as New England was on the verge of going undefeated. The game was tense and filled with punts throughout the first 3 quarters before picking up big time in the fourth with several lead changes, including arguably the most famous play in Super Bowl history in the helmet catch by David Tyree. Eli Manning then found safety expert Plexico Burress for a touchdown a few plays later to seal the biggest upset in NFL history. Grade A+. Super Bowl 43. Arguably the best Super Bowl ever, filled with exciting plays throughout and tightly contested to the very end. It looked like it could be a Pittsburgh blowout at one point before Arizona fought back to take a late lead. Then women respecter extraordinaire Ben Roethlisberger went to work and had his infamous game-winning touchdown pass to Santonio Holmes to all but seal the game. A truly great game. Grade A+. Super Bowl 44. Much closer than the final score difference of 14 points would suggest. The most memorable plays from this one are a surprise onside kick by Sean Payton to start the second half, and of course Peyton Manning's pick 6 to Tracy Porter down 7 late to seal the game for New Orleans. A good game that could have been even better if not for the pick 6. Grade B. Super Bowl 45. Aaron Rodgers' only Super Bowl win and appearance is a pretty overlooked suspenseful game. Green Bay had a commanding 18-point lead at one point before Pittsburgh fought back to make it a game in the fourth. Pittsburgh even had a chance for a game-winning drive down 6 late, but Green Bay's defense turned away America's favorite woman supporter Roethlisberger to win the game. Grade B+. Super Bowl 46. Another Super Bowl that gets overlooked a ton. New England was looking to extract revenge for 2007, but once again Eli Manning and New York's defense turned them away. The most memorable play from this one was Eli's laser throw to Manningham in the fourth quarter, and also Ahmad Bradshaw's hesitant touchdown to go up 4 points with a minute left. The game came down to the final play, an incomplete Hail Mary from Tom Brady. A really good game. Grade A-. Super Bowl 47. A game that will always be famous for the Superdome lights going out in the third quarter, which seemed to spark a miraculous San Francisco comeback. This would be a lot more talked about if San Francisco actually completed the 22-point comeback, but they whiffed on their chances. The game ended with San Fran turning it over on downs inside Baltimore's 5-yard line. I'm so happy that Ray Lewis got his second ring. What a great guy. Grade A. Super Bowl 48. Probably the most disappointing Super Bowl ever. Super hyped and ended up being a 35-point blowout by Seattle, who did the football equivalent of a bukkake all over Peyton Manning in Denver. The game was over by the start of the third quarter. Pretty forgettable to everybody besides Seattle fans. Grade F. Super Bowl 49. A great narrative game, as Seattle was trying to become a new dynasty while New England was trying to reclaim theirs. Even though Brady basically dink and dunked all game, this was still an objectively great game featuring a New England fourth quarter comeback. But it will always be remembered for how it ended with Malcolm Butler's interception at the 1. Why didn't Seattle just fucking run the ball? Grade A+, unfortunately. Super Bowl 50. Peyton Manning's second ring and final career game was a pretty forgettable punt-filled defensive struggle. Although some people might enjoy watching grown men with muscles rub up against each other, I prefer more offensive fireworks. No offense to Jason Pierre-Paul. Grade D-. Super Bowl 51. The game where the Atlanta Falcons officially became a meme. Will always be remembered for blowing a 28-3 lead, which is still hard to believe. The first and only overtime Super Bowl to date. New England's comeback certainly had some exciting moments, but I just feel like this game was more about Atlanta blowing it than some back-and-forth classic like other Super Bowls have been. Still an objectively great Super Bowl though, unfortunately. Grade grade A. Super Bowl 52. The highest scoring Super Bowl ever saw basically zero defense except for one play at the very end. Unlike Super Bowl 51, which had a close final score but no back and forth exchanges, Super Bowl 52 was a tightly contested battle all the way throughout, especially in the fourth quarter with lead changes. Who can also forget the Philly special and Tom Brady eating shit at the end with the strip sack? What a great day this was. Fly Eagles fly. Grade A+. Super Bowl 53. Literally the exact opposite of Super Bowl 52. This was a boring and tedious watch that saw a bunch of punts and turnovers before New England's offense finally got going in the fourth to win. Super Bowl 53 is the perfect example of why all close games aren't always great games. Also, I just hate the fact that Brady won again. Grade D-. Super Bowl 54. This Super Bowl gets bonus points for featuring Jimmy Garoppolo's gorgeous face, although it was a pretty weird game. San Francisco had a 10-point lead and the ball in the fourth quarter and still ended up losing by double digits thanks largely to Patrick Mahomes finally waking up after playing like shit for 3 quarters. A good but not great Super Bowl to anybody who isn't a Kansas City fan. Grade B-. Super Bowl 55. A completely boring and forgettable Super Bowl that was never really close. The only one of Tom Brady's 10 Super Bowl appearances that was never suspenseful. It still is shocking though how bad Kansas City's offensive line was and how ineffective their offense was. The game was also marred by some questionable officiating, but whatever. Eat Arby's. Grade F.